Hey, you guys. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here, welcome to the channel. This is Fatal Files. I feel like we haven't been here that much. It's been a minute since I've really been able to focus on this channel. But with Gypsy Rose Blanchard getting out of prison, I felt like this is probably the best time to really start putting content back on this channel with a story as riveting as Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Now, she got out of prison right before the new year on December 28th. We all know the story, so I'm not going to repeat what her story is, but I think most of us knew who Gypsy Rose Blanchard was before she got out of prison, before this media circus ensued surrounding her homecoming. I think we all knew who she was, right? I remember learning about Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I remember hearing about the story, and I'm from Louisiana, so obviously I'm going to know who Gypsy Rose Blanchard is. It was a big thing when it all happened, but it really quieted down over the years. And now with her coming out, it's just really caught fire again. And there's been so much happening. So she has been going on kind of like this like media tour situation, doing interviews. She is releasing a ebook. She has a Lifetime docuseries, The Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. She's been doing a lot of interviews, and I've been watching a lot of her interviews just because I had a lot of questions myself. And there's this one interview in particular. Hey, Miss Jackie O. Hey. Yeah, I normally don't work on Sundays. I try not to work on the weekends, but I'm trying to play catch up. So I'll be here for the next few weekends. But through these interviews that she's been doing, I've been watching them just to see if she's going to be answering any of the questions that I have, right? And the interview that is the most interesting so far to me is an interview on a YouTube channel called The Vial Files. Nick Vial, he was a bachelor off the show, The Bachelor, and he had Gypsy Rose on not too long ago. And let me tell you, he asked so many questions that I've not heard anyone ask her, what do you think you're going to tell your children? Have you considered what you will tell your children concerning their grandmother? He asked her, there's one question in particular that Gypsy's been asked by everyone, and she kind of like swerves her way around it. And that is, your co-defendant, your ex-boyfriend, Nick Godejohn, he got a lengthier sentence than you. How do you feel about that? And her answer has kind of been the same, like, well, I feel like me and Nick, we both have our regrets. We both wish none of this would have happened. I did my time, and I just, I send him the best on his time. She's really kind of avoided saying if she felt like he deserved the time or whatnot. But in the Vial Files interview, she actually talked a little bit more about it. In my opinion, it seems like she's saying, well, no, I do think he deserved more time because, well, he's the one that committed the act. And most people, if you say, hey, would you kill for me? They say no, but he had this darkness about him. He had this desire basically to kill. And if he wouldn't have did it for me, he eventually would have done it for someone else. So there's a few bits of this interview, you guys, that I have clipped and we're going to watch. He asked her, do you consider yourself a murderer? Do you consider yourself a murderer? She actually, when she first started on the interview with Nick Vial, he asked her how the interviews have been going. And she said, well, they've been going pretty good. But there was this one interview where the lady like referenced me as a murderer. And everybody was like, she said, my team all jumped up, like about ready to like pounce on the person. And I was like, it's okay. And she handled the question or whatever. And Nick asked, so do you consider yourself a murderer? How do you consider yourself? So do you consider yourself a murderer? How do you feel about the fact that Nick Godejohn has a lengthier sentence than you? He will never get out of jail. And also, she talked about a reoccurring dream that she has had. And the dream puts her back in the house. And she explains what these dreams are about. So we're going to watch them. We're going to watch these clips. I got them, like I said, once again, I got them from the Vial Files Nick Biles over on YouTube, also a podcast. I've linked the full video down below. And I'll actually have several more clips that I'm either going to do live streams with you guys or I'm going to do pre recorded videos. It kind of depends on what we have time to do. There's more where she talks about how she, what happened with the football game that they were going to go to. She goes more into depth as to why they didn't really go to the football game. She also talks about Ken, her relationship with Ken, the guy that she was engaged to. So it's a really good podcast to listen to. So we're going to go ahead. We are going to get started listening to some of these. All right, the first one that we're going to listen to is, do you consider yourself a murderer? Okay. Just in the comment section below, chat, what do you guys think? Do you guys feel like Gypsy Rose should consider herself a murderer, consider she was not the one that actually committed the act? What do you guys think? Let's go ahead. We're going to listen to what she has to say about this. She is very well spoken. She is. All right, let's listen.
This conversation, you referring to other interviews and that one interviewer just calling you a murderer.
Yes.
Do you feel that way about yourself, or do you feel more as if that you're a survivor?
I don't associate myself as a murderer, because if you think about it, yes, I had a part to play in it. I asked Nick for help. How that conversation started was, he was saying that he would protect me from anyone. I said anyone. He said yes. I said even my mother. He said yes. And then the plan kind of formed from there. He's the one that did the actual kill, not me. I can't kill anyone. That's why he's in trouble to begin with, because he's the one that did it. So when they say I'm a murderer, I don't identify as that. I'm an accessory. Absolutely. Yes, I did that. I am an accessory to murder. However, that doesn't define me. I did my sentence. I did my part. I did what the judge wanted me to do. Now that that's over, let me live my life. Let me reinvent myself. Give me a chance.
Yeah.
Because before I didn't even have that chance to begin with. So let me show you guys who I am as a person before you just start slapping labels on me.
Now that you can finally decide who you want to be.
Yes.
Okay.
You started this.
So, in this clip, she said he asked her, "Do you consider yourself a murderer or a survivor?" And then, she said, "Well, no, I definitely don't consider myself a murderer because he committed the act." She said, I couldn't do it, which is why basically I got him to do it. She does talk about the accessory. She mentions she's accessory, but in the state that she was charged in, they don't have accessory to murder. And she was initially charged when she was taken into custody. She was initially charged with murder and felony armed criminal action. Her and Nicholas Godejohn were extradited back to Missouri and held on a $1 million bond for a murder charge. Now, after the prosecution found out the evidence that, when they really started looking at the case to what all Gypsy, how her life had been, the fact that her mom had kind of confined her to a wheelchair, had her on a feeding tube, how these things going on where it looked like medical malpractice was being committed, where Gypsy definitely was a victim of some sort. You know what I'm saying? She was a victim of what her mother was doing to her. I'm always of the belief that there's always another way. And Gypsy says, and she has said this in every interview, is I shouldn't have done it. Shouldn't have happened. Should have never done it. She even said in Nick's interview, he said, "How do you feel when people come up to you and say, 'Oh, your mom deserved it because of what she did to you?'" And she said, "I don't like that because she didn't deserve it. Nobody deserves that. I was wrong in what I did. I should not have ever asked anybody to do that. I wish I would have went to the cops. I wish I would have told someone." So no, it was wrong. So she has admitted in several interviews that she was wrong to ask anybody to do that. And she believes that, her mom didn't deserve that. So yeah, I thought that was interesting to hear her think, answer that. Does she consider herself a murderer? I thought that was pretty interesting to hear her response to that. And I'm trying to think, like, how do I feel about it? I mean, I guess the definition of murder is when you take someone's life. So, by clear definition, I guess she is not the actual murderer per se, but definitely accessory, mastermind. Let's see. Let's see what the definition of murder is. I mean, a person who commits murder, a killer. Full meaning of a murderer. Definition of a murderer: a criminal who commits homicide, who performs the unlawful, premeditated killing of another human being. So I guess by like the true definition, while she did not do it herself, she's the one that planned it. It's like exactly. Is someone who hires a hitman a murderer? Or yeah, I get. Yeah, so it's a very like blurry line, in my opinion, where obviously there's this one part of everybody that they're like, well, she's the one that asked him to do it, so yeah, she's a murderer. But then, like by true definition, I guess she's not. But her mom would still listen. Listen, if anybody was to ever take my computer. If anybody was to ever take my computer, they would be like, what? JCH says, has she been released and I jumped on every talk show out there? I might not be so negative. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people being like, she needs to just like kind of fade away. On one interview, I did hear her. Can she not be both? I agree. I think she can kind of be both. Definitely a victim for sure. And had she not asked Nick to do it, would he have done it? I doubt it. So in one of the interviews, maybe on The View, she explained kind of why she's doing interviews. Her story has been told so much, but never by her. She's like, there's movies that's been made, and so much has been put out there about my life, but I've never been able to really speak on it. So I guess there's definitely a part of me that kind of understands coming out and finally wanting to be like, no, this is what happened. She was quiet for a long time, I think. Yeah, so I kind of get her coming out and wanting to talk about it. Definitely a blurred line for me. Yeah, she was abused. She didn't do it herself. There's so many other options. Yeah, exactly, Jackie. 1,000%. Okay, now, she's doing all the press for the money, which I get. She hasn't had any kind of life. She's going to need it. Life is expensive. It's so interesting to see both sides of like the coin. When you have people saying, no, I get why she's doing all the interviews, and the other people saying, well, no, I don't feel like she should because X, Y, and Z, And I do want you guys to know everybody's opinion is welcome here. I don't want you guys attacking someone because their opinion is different. Let's welcome everybody's opinion. Right. Nah, I mean, it was like immediately out of prison straight to The View. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I see a lot of people being like, wow, that's a lot. And Gypsy also talked about how she really feels like she would have ended up dead. And I was watching the Mommy Dead and Dearest earlier today when I was at the gym. And one thing on that little documentary is her dad, Rod, said that he was told by Didi that Gypsy would not live to be like an adult, that she would only live to be like a teenager, that she probably wouldn't make it past like 18, 19 years old. She would never make it to like her 20s or anything like that, which which obviously she did. She was like 26 when she got arrested. She didn't know she was that old, right? But it had me wondering, Didi had all these people convinced that Gypsy would not live a long life. So she could only keep Gypsy having the appearance of a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old for so long. Pretty soon, she's going to look older. Pretty soon, the neighbors are going to be like, okay, she's been 18 for 6 years now. She's not 18 anymore. So I really do wonder if at some point Dee Dee would have been like, we can't keep this up. I'm going to have to offer. And would have like poisoned her via feeding tube or something like that. Especially considering what the dad said. The dad said, Dee Dee told me she would not live to be in her 20s. And when the dad called Gypsy on Gypsy's 18th birthday to tell her happy birthday, obviously Dee Dee answered. And he's like, hey, I want to call and tell Gypsy happy birthday. And she's like, oh, don't tell her it's her 18th birthday, though. She don't need to know that. And he's like, what? She's going to know it's her 18th birthday. And she's like, no. She don't know. So don't tell her. And he never said this, but it made me wonder. I was really looking for him to say that Dee Dee told him, well, Gypsy knows she's not going to live past her teenage years. So if we tell her she's 18 already, she's going to understand that she don't have many years left. And that's just going to frighten her. So we don't want to tell her how old she is, That's a good theory. That is very interesting, Christina. I feel like she's feeding into the attention, like she had attention with her mom from the sickness. Yep. If people can make money talking about her, then why should she make money when it's about her? Yeah, I kind of just see both sides of it, And that's true too, Jamie. I really try to remember that a person never really knows how they will respond unless they're in the same position. But I'm really struggling with Gypsy and trying to figure out what I completely understand that. Well, you can't profit from a dead person. You can draw like Social Security and stuff. You can draw a check, well, can you, no, back that up. Because I'm thinking about another story that I cover where a 29-year-old girl just died and she has 2 kids, and the kids are going to draw a check off of her. But if you have a child that dies, you do not, that's true, you don't. Except for when they first die. So when a child dies, you do have a lot of people that comes forward and they want to do all these things for you. When my nephew passed away at 3 years old, I had friends that started to GoFundMe without asking me, and I had to be like, no, shut that down. We don't need that. But yeah, a lot of people reaching out saying, can we do something? Like, what do you guys need? So her mom profited off her illness, Make-A-Wish, exactly. The home, the car, exactly. But I really do wonder, she was already like bonding Gypsy's boobs and stuff to, to where she looked younger. So I really do wonder, when I heard the dad say that, when he said, she told me that Gypsy would never make it to be like in her 20s, I was like, I wonder if it ever got to the point where people started questioning, wait, Gypsy can't be 18 anymore. If she had life insurance, yeah, I mean, I'm concerned if she is to get pregnant and have a baby. She talked about if she wants kids, and she wants kids, and she talks about how she will, explain to her kids the situation of what happened. Okay, so do you consider yourself a murderer? She said no, because she didn't commit the actual act. I thought that was interesting to hear her take on that. The next one, we're gonna listen to Gypsy's reoccurring dream. Okay. Nick Vial asked her if she has any like trauma that still lingers or whatever, or if she has, I think he may have even asked her, did she have any dreams, right? She had life insurance money from her mom because she was not convicted for offing her mother. Are we sure? I don't know nothing about that. I don't know if Dee Dee did Gypsy Rose Blanchard have a life insurance on Dee Dee? I don't. I'm looking. Hold on. Let me ask somebody. Y'all give me just a second. I'm asking my source. Okay. Did her mom work? No. Dee Dee did not work. We're going to listen to the next one, Gypsy's reoccurring dream. And then if my source responds, I'll let you guys know what they say. Yeah, to my knowledge, she didn't get anything from her passing, but like I said, I could be wrong. I don't know for sure.
Have you been able to, come to peace with that night, or have you relived that night over and over in your head? And
I still suffer from, PTSD, and trauma. I keep reliving this one nightmare over and over again, and it's tied to that night. It's tied to the house.
Are you able to share that?
So yeah, and I've had actually 2 nightmares that reoccur a lot. So the first one, my therapist said, is attributed to the guilt that I feel for not reaching out to other people, to help me out. So the first one that I have is I have a cell phone. I'm in my dream. I'm holding a cell phone and I'm trying to call my dad. And the number, for some reason, I can't get through to him. The number doesn't work. The phone is turned off or whatever it be. I can't get through to him. And I have that nightmare again and again and again. And then the other one is about that night, and I keep on going back into that house and just feeling very frightened. And the murder just happens again and again and again in my mind. Like I'm free physically, but I'm not free from the trauma.
Is there something you would have done different to protect yourself and ultimately save your life?
I grew up in a household where my mother said that she had magical powers and she'd put a voodoo hex on me if I ever tried to leave. My mom used to say that she heard voices and saw shapes and things like that. So, for me, I think the regret goes back so much further than the crime. I wish that even as a little girl, I would have maybe even said something like, "Mommy hears voices,"
And just started telling
people, some of the smaller things that was going on. Just kind of make those comments.
Right. Why do you think you didn't? Were you just
Because my mother, she
Understood.
isolated us from our family. In my younger years, it was easier. But the older that I got, the worse she got. And so, in the smaller of a circle we had to reach out to.
Okay, that one wasn't interesting. Okay, so my source says no. To her knowledge, there was no life insurance policy, and Gypsy would have told her if that was the case. All right, so yeah, if Christina, I know you have me on Facebook, so if you find where you saw that, let me know. Send it to me, please. Yes, Gypsy is on parole. She had a parole officer in Missouri, as well as she has one in Louisiana now. So she had 2, which once she got to Louisiana, I think her Missouri, it would be completely like switched just to Louisiana. But because she got out in Missouri, she had to immediately like have one there. Yeah, she will be on parole for a year and a half exactly. So, yeah, Christina, just send it to me on Facebook and then let me know in the chat if you find where you come across that. But my source says that they've never heard anything about that and they think Gypsy would have told them. And even though she wasn't convicted of her murder, she pled guilty to second degree murder. So, so she was initially charged with murder, premeditated murder, right? She took a plea deal of second degree murder. Even if there would have been an insurance policy where Gypsy, I don't see Dee Dee having an insurance policy and having Gypsy as the beneficiary simply due to the fact that Dee Dee wanted people to believe that Gypsy was like incompetent and like on the level of like a middle school child. It wouldn't really make sense for her to like make her the beneficiary, right? I don't think so. Once again, like my source said, there was no policy to her knowledge. Um, Elle, does she live near you? So we both live in Louisiana. I know where they live. We've been down there. My husband actually used to drive right by their house. When I say their house, I mean Christy and Rob Blanchard. My husband actually, every time he went offshore, he had to pass like their street. So I know where it is now after talking to some people. Uh, but yeah, I don't think Diddy would have put Gypsy as a beneficiary when she wanted people to believe that Gypsy was like incompetent. Also, Gypsy pled guilty to being she pled guilty to second degree murder of Diddy Blanchard. So even despite the fact that she was not found guilty of first premeditated murder, she did plead guilty to being a like to second degree. So if someone has an insurance policy and you have any part in their death, you're not going to get that money. You're not going to get it. Um, hey, Mariska. Okay. Did they have a second wedding? Just wondering after some pictures I've seen online. Let me ask. Let me ask. Okay. I know exactly what picture you guys are talking about. I don't know if that's AI, but I just asked my source and let me see what they say. I'm not seeing, like, I just Google searched it, but I saw it in like a group, maybe on like a Reddit or something. There was, it would definitely look like a wedding. She had on a wedding dress. He had on a suit. I know exactly what you guys are talking about. Can somebody remind me where it is so I can go find it? Yeah, and that's what she says she wants to do. She says she wants to go on to advocate for others, educate people on Gypsy on Munchausen by proxy. She knows the red flags. When someone has it, she knows, and I think she could go on to do a lot of good, like to help others and to be an advocate and to teach people about it. I'm not seeing the photo when I just Google search it, but I know what you guys are talking about. I saw it. All right, we're gonna watch another. All right, we watched Do You Consider Yourself a Murderer? All right, now we're gonna watch the one about how do you feel about Nick receiving a longer sentence, okay? So as we all know, Nick, he diagnosed with autism. A lot of people, especially if you watch the act, it absolutely portrays Nick Godejohn as lower IQ, easily persuade, easily influenced, um, doing everything for love, considering himself a knight in shining armor. I mean, if you watch this movie, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When I watched the act, I was like, "What happened? Why is Nick in jail for prison and not in a mental facility? Why I don't get this." I was very like taken aback. I was like, "This doesn't make sense." Like I was on this autistic, and not he's not the way they portray Nick Godejohn. My son is very intelligent. He has Asperger's. He's on the higher end of the spectrum. Very very smart. But still like, when I saw this portrayal of this, definitely lower spectrum Asperger's, autistic child or boy that just seemed like he probably never had a girlfriend before, so she was probably his first girlfriend, and he probably just felt like, "Oh my god, I have to save her." And I will tell you, children that are autistic, they do not think the way we think. They think so far outside the box. It's intriguing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very I mean, it's so weird to be like, "I'm glad that my son has autism," but and I don't wanna say it like that, but it's not one of these things that look down upon because, it's kind of like a special thing. I mean, I tell my son all the time, like, "You were made, like, extra saucy." You know what I'm saying? Like, God designed us, and then he put a little extra oomph to you because you think so much different than we do. It's so cool. Um, so him being portrayed on the show as someone that really just thought he was gonna be the love of his life, knight in shining armor. He's so, like on the show, he's like, "I don't know what to do," and she's like, "Here, do this," and he's like, "Okay," you know, has a lot of people feeling like, "Well, this was unfair to him. How does she, you know, get sentenced for 10 years survey and she's out? She's gonna have a full life ahead of her, and then he will never get out of prison." I see a lot of comments stating things like that. Now I am seeing things where it's like the act did not portray Nicholas Godejohn and the crowd. Oh my goodness! Oh my, they're photoshopped. They're photoshopped. Okay. Wow. Okay. I will just say there are some photos of Gypsy and Ryan, and someone literally just took those photos and photoshopped them with her in a wedding dress. He's wearing the same suit. I did ask if I can share this. The wedding photos are photoshopped. They have not had a wedding. She sent me the like first picture and then the second picture. Okay, we're gonna watch the one where she talks about Nick, and I'm gonna wait for my source to let me know if I can share these. Okay. All right, let's go. So, how does she feel like about Nick receiving a longer sentence? Okay.
One thing you've been very open about is your relationship with Nick.
Mhm.
You mentioned the abuse. You mentioned just kind of, some of his dark
Mhm.
desires.
Mhm.
Something that really bothered me when I was watching the act is he comes across a little sympathetic towards the end. They
Mhm.
highlight his autism. Do you have any thoughts about that? And despite what Nick did to you and your mother,
Mhm.
do you have any empathy for him being in prison and what he has gone through?
I think that we both, like him and I both have a lot of regrets. Obviously I wish that this would have never happened this way. Now for him specifically, I did my time. I know he's doing his time for his part of things.
Mhm.
I hope that whatever he does with his future, because he is spending the rest of his life in prison, I acknowledge that I am the reason for that. However, I don't feel either that it's a situation where it's a sympathetic type of situation.
Okay.
And I mean, the reason why I say that is because in my past relationships, I've had 2 relationships since I've been incarcerated. And each one of my exes and even my husband is like, "Baby, if you would have asked me that question, if you would have said, 'Hey, can you kill my mom to get me out of this situation?' They would have said, 'No. Let's go to the
Yeah.
police. Okay, I'm gonna get you out of this situation, but let's go to the authorities, all right? And we're gonna do this the right way." He did not Nick did not say that. He has these dark fantasies. He wanted to do it. It was a fantasy he lived out, and he's paying the consequences for that. So with that being said, it's neither here nor there for in my opinion, what I think of the situation. It's just it is what it is.
Okay. So basically, she's saying, listen, I asked my husband, my ex-boyfriend, would you have, if I asked you to come on mom, what would you have said? And they all said no. That makes a lot of sense, but she was asked, I don't know where he lies on the spectrum of autism. I can say when I watched his trial, I could tell he was autistic. And I watched a this doctor, psychiatrist testify saying like, "Oh no, he's not autistic. Look at the way he's walking in front of her, leading. Look at the way he's opening the door for her. He's not autistic." And I'm like, that is the stupidest comment I've ever heard a medical professional make. Just because someone holds a door open for someone, they're not autistic. Like, what are you talking about? He absolutely seems to be autistic. Where he lies on the spectrum, I can't say that for sure, but I think that's the difference in her asking, Ryan and Ken, and I think there was a guy named Jeff too. Yeah, so she was engaged to Ken, Ryan. So yeah, she said 2 relationships because she married Ryan, she had Ken, and I think there's a guy named Jeff. I think. Um, they are neurotypical people that can understand right from wrong 1,000%. They don't have this mindset of like gotta be the savior. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand how Diddy fools so many doctors. I don't either. My 16-year-old son is autistic, and you can't even tell if you don't know. That's the way mine is. You have to spend like his teachers will figure it out along the way just because of how he answers questions. But if you are just like hanging out with him for like a moment, you don't know. Beta Files with Elle, did you know that Nick, his father, is a Bobby is? I did not know that. His father, Bobby, right? His dad's name is Bobby. I did not know that. That is wild. All right, so we're going to look at some pictures really quickly. All right, so here is the first photo of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. That was when they were preparing for to do some filming for the Lifetime docuseries, right? And here's the fake wedding photo. So someone literally just photoshopped. They're not real. There's not been another wedding. It's literally Photoshop. And to be quite honest, who would really take a photo wedding and drape the bejewels behind them? He's wearing the curtain. Who would wear the curtain? I mean, listen, I've been watching so many of these interviews, and I like Ryan. He says it's one of those things a lot. It's like, it's one of those things where I've noticed he says that a lot, but I say, a lot. I'm like, So that's one of his things. I think is it's just one of those things. But I do like him. I when I'm watching, I feel like he is pretty genuine. Now I will say I'm not the best judge of character. I get myself in friendships all the time that bite me in the butt. But just from the interviews, he seems like he really cares, but I don't think he's the type that would wear the curtains. I don't know. He might do a lot for Gypsy, but I don't think he's going to bedazzle himself for her. I don't know. Elle, do you know if that was ever proven? If him and Gypsy are related, they're not related. I did see the act. Yes, so that was another thing is, she's like, "Listen, he had dark thoughts. He had this darkness and evilness about him. He wanted to commit crimes like that." So she feels like, yes, she asked him, but if he wouldn't have did it for her, he probably would have went on to do it to someone else. Now, Nick Godejohn had been arrested before for allegedly, this is wild. This can't be true. He was allegedly arrested for jerking the chicken for 9 hours straight while watching porn in a McDonald's. Now, first off, he said he wasn't jerking his chicken, that he was itching a scratch, which ain't that what they say? Like, I was just itching my scratch, still jerking the chicken. Yeah, he said like, oh no, I just had like a scratch and I was itching it really quickly. But allegedly people saw him watching this type of footage. So, and I'm like, anybody that will sit in a McDonald's watching that type of footage and putting their hand remotely anywhere near their junk, something is off, So I do think that something is off there. Yeah. Yeah. And I know they filed, like, they've either filed an appeal or they're getting ready to file an appeal. Let me see. Yes, okay. On December 5th, he filed a new appeal over his conviction. So he has filed an appeal. And I think if anything, he probably needs to be in like some sort of mental health facility. Yeah. Okay, so the reason that Ryan wrote to her is Ryan and one of his friend had like watched some movies. One of the movies was The Act, and they made a bet. They bet each other like, I'll write so and so if you write so and so. And his friend said, you write Gypsy Rose Blanchard and I'll write, I don't remember who the other person was, but it was kind of just like a funny thing, like, oh, I'll write this person if you write that person. So he did, he's like, I did, and I think she's just gonna write me back. And lo and behold, she wrote me back. So yeah. But she knew what she was doing and planning for myself. Oh yeah. So yeah, those were some interesting clips. How do you feel about Nick receiving a longer sentence? Her saying, listen, yes, Joe Exotic from Tiger King. That's who it was. So his friend was supposed to write Joe Exotic from Tiger King. So they made a bet. I'll write Joe Exotic, you write Gypsy Rose. Okay, Janie. Oh, damn. Okay. Yeah, somebody had like this theory, and I'm like, they had a really good theory, and I can't remember what it was. But yeah, DM me in Discord. So I'm going to take more clips. She does not view herself as a murderer. She has a reoccurring dreams. The one dream, did we watch that one, you guys, about the reoccurring dreams? Yes, we did. Her reoccurring dream, she is back at the house and the murder is happening over and over and over. And then another one is she is calling her dad, but she cannot like push the buttons. The phone's not working or something like that. So she can't get in touch with her dad. And her therapist says that obviously it's just like, because she had that feeling that she couldn't tell anybody or she couldn't get any help or anything like that. So I'm gonna go through more clips, and I don't know if we'll do them live or I'll do pre-recorded videos, but we're gonna have more content up on this channel in the coming days. So you guys just make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Give this video a thumbs up. I'm gonna go ahead and close this one out because we're going on almost an hour, and that'll be a little too long. Also agree with her saying it is what it is. The justice system knows all the facts and dealt out their punishment, not in her hands. Yeah, I feel like she also has to be very careful with how she answers things. She's got the whole world looking at her. If she says, yes, I believe he deserves to be there, or no, I believe he doesn't, she's going to get heat one way or the other. So, yeah. You guys leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. like, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.